All right, all right. To my listeners, big up everyone that is locked in and locked on right about now. I am too excited, guys. I don't think you understand the excitement that I have right about now. Um, I have our very, very special guest on the phone right now. Okay. Now, everyone that's locked in right now, just make sure that those that are listening, that you can hear me clearly, please, before we continue. And of course, I'll bring in the lovely, I'm going to call you Big Sis. That's what I'm going to call you. That's what I'm going to call you, Big Sis. Okay. That's the kind of title that you need, right? Because you're the wisdom that, oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited. All right, guys, let me know that we're coming through clearly. Firstly, yes, perfect, perfect, perfect. Excellent, wonderful. Thank you, guys. All right, Mrs. Lakia Brandenburg, aka the wife coach, aka just because you're married don't mean you're a wife.
AKA.
AKA.
Big sis.
Yes.
What's up, Nabaya?
My big sis, I am so excited. Guys, please let me know that you can hear Lakia perfectly through the mic, please. All right, before we continue, because I need everyone to hear every single word that is coming from you this morning. And I need to give you a big up as well, please. Can you just let people know what time it is where you are?
So it is currently 2:45. Well, no, 2:53 now.
Wow.
Over the pond.
Wow.
Eastern Standard Time.
Wow. That's dedication right there. I'm so truly grateful. I am so, so truly grateful for you, honestly, because you're across the pond, as I like to say, right?
I love it.
And I'm truly grateful for you. Thank you so much for doing this. Like I said, I listened to a podcast that you done with one of your good friends. And
yes,
after watching that, and I have to big up DJ Sha'al, who actually showed me, he's another DJ on truthmusicradio.com. And he forwarded it to me. It's like, you must watch this. So I watched it and I was just taken aback straight away. Wow. I said, everything that you're saying, and you're still young yourself, right?
Yeah.
All of what you were saying, you would expect to hear this from someone that's in their probably 70s that has lived life and has experienced marriage and just life as a whole. But it proves that no matter what age you're at, if you just apply wisdom as you have, you can have a successful marriage, a successful life. It's just how you apply it, right?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Everyone's saying that they hear loud and clear. All praises. I'm grateful, right? So, first and foremost, okay, please introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are, what you're about.
Yes, well, greetings, good morning, and thank you so much, Nabai. I'm so excited to talk to you. Everybody, my name is Lakia Brandenburg, better known as LB. I am the wife coach on Instagram.
Yes.
I created the only online masterclass that's changing married women into happy, fun, and irresistible wives. Ooh. I have been married to my boo, my bae, as I like to call him, my baby daddy, for 11 years.
Wow.
And although I have been married for 11 years, I haven't always been a wife.
Right.
So, when I really say that all married women aren't wives, it's really about how you show up.
Right.
So how you show up in your relationship when it comes to how y'all talk to each other, how y'all vibe with each other,
right.
how you get along with each other, how you handle problems. That's the difference. Because sometimes we just want to get married and we don't realize there's an assignment attached to it.
Right. Absolutely. Great intro, by the way. Do you know what? I love your energy. Like,
thank you, Nabaya.
It's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So that's why I've been so excited for this, because it's not just a case of me just asking you questions. It's just the energy about you that I absolutely love. So I'm ready.
I appreciate that.
So I'm ready to get right into this. Some people have been forwarding some questions as well, which I'll put forward to you. But
okay.
But we'll get straight into it, right? So, first and foremost, as you said, you wasn't always a wife, okay?
Right.
And I know, like you said, you've been married for 11 years, but before your married life, you and your husband were together a long time beforehand. I think you
Yes.
mentioned you got together in your early 20s. And of course, at that age, you know, you're still learning, you're still learning yourself, you're still learning
Uh-huh.
each other. And of course, you know, you go through battles as everybody does in their relationship. But you both then got to a point where you was ready for marriage, but your husband, I believe you said, proposed the idea to do a premarital education class. And that, at that point, I think that's where you kind of started to learn more about what it is to be in a marriage. Am I right?
I'm gonna say it was my idea, but
Ah,
my
okay.
husband, but my husband honestly was like, "Let's do it." At that point, he was ready to move forward
Oh,
with it
excellent.
because I had been like, "Let's do some premarital counseling." You know,
Yes.
let's get ready to get married. You know, I want to get married, but when we were at the brink of breaking up, we were at the
Mm,
brink of, we're gonna call it quits. We had been together off and on for almost 10 years. So
wow.
at that point, yeah, it's like, come on, babe, what we gonna do? What we
Yeah,
doing here?
yeah.
And at that point, he realized he didn't want to lose his family. He didn't want to lose
Mm,
his girl, but he also knew that he didn't want to get married and not understand what his assignment was as a husband. So honestly, he was a little bit more invested in that process because he
right,
knew that marriage was an important step.
right.
I just wanted to get married. You see the
Yes.
difference? You know, I
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
that wedding day. You know, I
yeah.
wanted the day everybody gonna be looking at my dress, and you know, it was all about me. So
Right.
he was. I would say it was my idea, but he was the one that was fully invested in. Let's go ahead and make this thing, you know, official.
Yes. Yes. Okay. I mean, that's great because not many men would think, okay, yeah, let's do this. Some might, you
Right.
know, some may be like, oh, no, that's just too much. Like, why are we doing this? Like, we're fine. Let's just get on with it kind of
Uh
thing. But
huh. Uh huh.
it's good that the both of you came to that happy, I guess, compromise or whatever you want to call it to say, do you know what? We need this. Do you understand?
Yeah, you know, yeah, it took a long time to get there, but the funny thing about it though is we were so young. Like you said, I was
Mm,
19 when I met Derek. He
yeah.
was 20. So
Yeah.
we practically grew up together in our 20s, and even though I thought I was ready to get married, I wasn't ready. I just wanted
Mm,
to get married because that's the next step in your relationship.
yeah.
I wanted to get married because all of my friends were going to marry, you know, were getting
Right.
married, and
Right.
I was in so many different weddings, and I just caught the wedding bug. Like I wanted to become, oh, I want to be, you know, become a wife because that's what you get when you get married, you
Right.
know.
Right. It's
But
true.
I
Yeah.
had no idea about the assignment that was attached to it.
Yeah, no, and I think that's with many people in this world. They don't really understand the level to what marriage is. And like you said, people just want their wedding day, and then that's where it
Yep,
stops.
yep,
But not realizing
exactly.
that marriage is work, as you have said before. There
Yes.
was, I wanted to say to you, there was a brother that also watched your podcast and asked if is there another one of you that he can marry.
Look, Nabaya, here's the funny thing about it. So many women that I talk to who have seen that podcast, big shout out to David Shands with Sleep is
Yes.
for Suckers, and Social Proof Podcast. The funny thing about it is that so many men have been forwarding, like so many men have seen it, and they're like, please help us, like speak for us. This is what we've been trying to say all along. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm pretty much here for both. You know, I'm
Yeah.
here to make sure that your relationship is equitable, that is even, you know, that both of you all are contributing to your relationship, and that I just want us to realize this is what we could be doing that
Yes.
is hurting our men,
Mm-hmm.
that is hurting our relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we understand that, you know, that conversation that I was having on that podcast, it's real. This is
Yeah.
a lot of things that people go through in their relationships. And so I just love that so many people vibed with it and was able to get something from it to help them in their own relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like me personally, I feel there's a grey area with and what I wanted to ask you, what is the role of a woman as a
Uh-huh.
helpmeet and a man as the provider, as the protector in a marriage? I honestly feel like there's a grey area here
Yeah.
somewhat because people don't generally know what their role is as a woman or what their role is as a man when it comes to
Yeah.
marriage.
I love that. No, that's good. And so here's the thing. There's a gray area because the word role, quote unquote, role, is a gray area within itself. You have to define what that role is. And so when you think about going into marriage as husband and wife, one, a lot of people, of course, think the man is the provider,
right?
He's the head. And so if that is your belief and if that is how you see marriage being structured, then okay, what does that look like for your marriage? So that's the thing. We have to start personalizing, okay, cool. He's the head, he's the provider. Now, what does that look like for me? The wife is the helpmeet. Right. Okay, what does that look like for my marriage? Let's define what helpmeet means, because some of us have like old school or our parents' ideals of what marriage is supposed to look like. But to me, marriage is what you create it to be. Right. This is not your parents' marriage. This is not your grandma's marriage. This is not your aunts and uncles. This is your marriage. So when it comes to how you and your husband function in your marriage, you all have to establish what those rules, what those relationship quote unquote rules are, and what those roles are. So I look at a helpmeet as being someone who is supportive, but I also look at a husband as being supportive. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. I look at a husband as being a provider, but I also look at the wife being a provider. So you have to really get clear on what this looks like for your particular relationship so that you all can function as husband and wife cohesively, collectively, in sync and harmony. So yeah, you have to really just clearly define that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Definitely. Everyone's marriage is different. As you said, just because of what you witnessed, I guess, from your grandmother or whatever the case may be, doesn't mean it's going to be the same. And obviously, it's different times now as well.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, because what happens, Navaya, a lot of people see, have their example of marriage, and this is where it all starts, whether it's in your household or if it's on Disney, in a Disney movie. Your first example is what you kind of think this is what marriage is supposed to be. Oh, this is how it's supposed to feel. And you see your grandma and grandpa, they've been married for 55 years. They've been married for 60 years. But you have no idea the roles they both had to play behind closed doors. See, you saw your grandma making, dinner for your grandpa, and he went out and worked and all that stuff, but you don't know what else she had to deal with in order for it to work. Right. So that's why I think it's important that we, one, don't compare our relationships to others, but just get very clear on what's going to work for us.
All right. I love that. I absolutely love that. Perfect. And you mentioned Disney, right? Because there was something that you said, like some women have this fairy tale idea of what a marriage is going to be. And I think it's because it stops at the wedding day. And then after that, they don't know what happens after that.
Oh, my goodness. They live happily ever after. That's what happens.
Basically.
And so they get mad because happily ever after is, in some cases, a nightmare. They basically have planned all this time and energy to be a bride for one day and not a wife for the rest of their life. Oof. That's why I think the preparation, what happens to the preparation into the role, quote unquote, that you're assuming. That fantasy, you would be so surprised at how many women I meet, I coach, that are suffering from the fairy tale syndrome. Like, that's a real syndrome.
Wow.
Like, there's some real ideas out here that this is how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to have butterflies on my stomach. He's supposed to sweep me off my feet. I'm supposed to walk in the room and he just drops everything. And, people really believe this because this is what they have been watching. Yes. This is what they've been consuming. Yep. This is what they have been assuming, so when it doesn't happen, it's like, is this what I signed up for? This is marriage?
Yep.
Like, this is it?
Yep, absolutely.
So, it's a real disappointment. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, and I think this is why I think it's really great that yourself and your husband done that whole premarital class, because it does give you the reality of what a marriage is.
Yes.
Past, your beautiful wedding day and what have you. But a lot of people need to know the realization of what a marriage is work.
Yes.
It is work, and it's hard work.
It's work. And then here's the thing. See, so a lot of people hear that and be like, oh God, marriage is work. That whole word work can be subjective because anything we want, Nabaya, is worth working for.
Absolutely.
Like, if you have a business and you started a business, I promise you your behind is working to make sure that business is successful.
That's
if
right.
you want to, climb the corporate ladder, I promise you, you're putting in work to make sure you get that promotion.
That's right.
When it comes to relationship, when it comes to love, we just expect it to happen. Like, it's just supposed to feel in love.
Oh, you're preaching right now.
Why am I working for this? Like,
Yes.
And so it's just really, again, giving people the reality. I literally talk to women almost every day, just helping them to understand your marriage mindset has to be on point first and foremost. You can't come into marriage with this ideal of this fantasy world, believe things that are falsehoods. You're going to be, thinking of these different myths when it comes to marriage and believe that this is your reality.
Right.
So it's important that we create a marriage mindset that allows you to, one, just enjoy your marriage. It's like, oh, okay, marriage can be cool. Marriage can be fun. Marriage can be fulfilling, but you really got to get out of that fantasy world because that's what really messes us up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, I was, sorry, excuse me. I was speaking with a brother who said to me that women should be the ones to initiate things because that would make the man then want to do more for their woman. So what do you think of that?
I love that. I often say to my ladies again, one, it's not always about you.
Yeah.
This is his marriage too. And so he doesn't want to feel that he's the one putting in all the work when it comes to trying to woo you, trying to, keep you happy, trying to do everything for you. This is his life too. Like, I had to realize that, Nabaya, like, wait a minute. My husband signed up to be married to me, which means he's expecting something from this marriage or expecting this marriage to offer him something as well.
Right.
So the idea of initiating means that I want you. You are just as important to me as I am to you. Like, this is, I want to do these things for you as well. I think what happens is, especially when it comes to sex, Nabaya, a lot of men feel like, yo, do you want it? Like, do you like sex? Because they're just sitting there waiting on the man to initiate it. And they're like, no, sometimes you need to initiate. And that's something I'm very big on. It's something I really teach, especially in my masterclass. Yeah. Because you have to show that equal desire, that energy that you want to be with him. So, yeah, I definitely agree that initiating just conversation, initiating sex, initiating, just anything that you desire to see in him, I think that will also let him know that he's just as much as desired and wanted as you are.
Absolutely. Because I had the debate about this the other day, just in regards to, the woman initiating, and it's not always down to the man. But also, do you think that men take responsibility or accountability, however you want to say it, in how they treat their wife? Why sometimes the wife doesn't feel motivated to fulfill her wifely duties?
And you know what? I think it's different situations that play into that. When you say wifely duty, see that right there, like, we even talk about language. Right. Wifely duty sounds like work. It's like, my wifely duty is what? Sex? Does it mean I'm supposed to have sex with my husband? Like, what is my wifely quote unquote duty? Because what's the husband duty? We don't never hear that. What's the husbandly duty? Like, we always hear the wifely duty. So I think that's that mindset. You really have to understand, first of all, if I'm showing up as a wife, then I know that means I'm initiating. Right. Sometime.
Right.
So if I show up as a married woman, and in a married woman, you put any adjective behind her. She can be Mrs. Sarcastic, Mrs. Independent, Mrs. Controlling, Mrs., my way or the highway. That doesn't give you the spirit of initiation. Right. That gives you the spirit of, it's all about me. It's my, if this is my marriage, you do what I asked you to do. I actually spoke to a wife who was on the phone to tell me everything her husband was doing wrong. And I flipped the script. I said, well, wait a minute, baby girl. Let's talk about you. Because that's the thing. It's like, I get it. Everything you're saying about him is probably 100%. I get it. Yes. But at the end of the day, when it comes to your relationship and the person that is in it, the only person you can change is you. So that's what we're going to focus on. Wow. So, yeah, I think it's just about really the mindset wifely duty is. And, when it comes to initiating, I think men have to also create a safe space.
Oh, my goodness.
Feel comfortable.
Thank you.
Yeah, come on.
Come on. Come on. Thank you. Say that again, please. Say it again.
Absolutely. Men have to create a safe space where women feel safe,
Ah,
secure,
yes.
confident, that they can step up and be, whether it is, that lady in the street and the freak in the bed, whatever. You have to make the woman feel comfortable
Yes.
in order to step into that role. Yes,
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that because, like I said, I was having a debate the other day and a sister did bring up that same thing. You have to create a safe space. Now, women have children, they put on a bit of weight, stretch marks is there, they might be feeling a bit insecure. So it is important for the man to make them feel sexy, even if, the woman within themselves don't feel sexy.
Yes.
But if their man makes them feel that way, then it encourages them. They won't feel like, oh no, I don't want to be naked in front of him because my body's now this way. And so it is important for the man to make their woman feel that they're still sexy. And even down to the whole thing of, the losing weight after you've had a baby, all that kind of stuff. Just be encouraging. There's, like I said, language is everything. So how you come across, don't be saying, it's so important. Don't be telling your wife that, oh, you're fat. Because they're not going to take it lightly. But, if you say, babe, let's exercise together, or whatever the case may be, encourage them that way. That gives them that safe space. So I'm so glad that you mentioned about the safe space. It's so important.
Yes.
So important.
It is. It is. It's absolutely, Nabaya. Yes.
So important. I also wanted to ask you something. This one's a bit deep, right? Now,
come on.
So now, within the Black community, okay, systematically, if we kind of look at how the world is right now, the system have kind of brought, or I guess raised Black women in a way that makes them highly independent.
Yeah.
They've made it in a way where they don't need no man, whether that's through, you're getting money through the state, benefits, whatever the case may be. Obviously, what is portrayed, on Black men through media, movies, music videos, whatever the case may be. And also this down to some Black women and how they've been raised, what they've witnessed as they've, grown up. So now that plays a part in the respect that we now have for Black men, or lack of respect that we have for Black men. And also then it filters down, once they are married to their Black man, where they find it very hard to submit to their husband. And of course, systematically, Black women have been raised in a way, unfortunately, that we, not all, of course, not all, some find it hard to respect the Black man. But also when they do get married, it filters down into their marriage where they find it hard to submit,
of course,
to their husbands. Have you found this, like, with your workshops that you have set up for the wives? When you're speaking to them, do they have that kind of syndrome? I don't know what you would even call it, but have you found that with some of the wives that you've come across?
Absolutely, 150%, yes. Her Mrs. Independent.
Yes.
And see, with Mrs. Independent, it's like a catch-22. Because like you said, we are raised to be able to do this thing called life on our own.
Yes.
To not need a man. We can want a man. If we have a man, cool. But we don't need you. We get our own money. We got our own jobs. We can buy our own house. We can buy our own car. We can pretty much create the life we want without you in it.
Right.
And like you said, systematically, that's how it's been designed. Like, that's how it's supposed to be, or they want it to be. But no, we know that the family structure is the cornerstone of our community. We know that we have to reestablish our family structure. And so when you have a wife or a woman who desires to be married to her Black man, and then he comes in, not necessarily being raised in a family.
Right.
This is not an excuse, but many of them not raised in a family where there was an example of a healthy husband and wife role. So now he's stepping into a role. There you go back to that word role, right, Nabaya?
Right.
That he's never fulfilled this role before.
Right.
He's never seen it. But yet we come with this expectation that this is what you're supposed to do. Like, you're supposed to lead, and then I'm supposed to submit to you? Like, wait a minute. No, I don't need to submit, because see, what happens is I'm Mrs. Independent.
Right.
So I've been, you're going to submit to me.
Right.
I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to control this thing, and that's where it's out of order.
Right.
So that's where the breakdown comes too, inside. Because see, we are, as women, Nabaya, I don't know about you, but I was playing with baby dolls and being nurtured to be a mama and to be, married when I was a little girl and didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
But our men were outside playing with dump trucks and dirt and basketball. Like, they were never, they weren't put in the position at a young age that your goal is to work toward being a husband, or if that's your, as far as relationship status. So I feel what happens is with Mrs. Independent, she has all of her issues, I like to call it, which are issues that come with her in the household.
Yep.
And then when it comes to submission, that's a cuss word. There's so many different examples of how submission has been abused. But what I teach my women and what I've learned as a wife is that submission is a position of power.
Wow.
But see, that's a mindset shift, because you have to understand why. You submit every day without even realizing you do it. I promise you, Nabaya, if you get in your car and drive and that traffic light turn red, you're going to stop. That's
That's right. It's so true. So
you see
true.
what I'm saying? So to think I'm going to submit to a man that's over my life now. This is the man that I vow my love to, the man that I want to be ahead of my household, but I can't submit to him. I'm going to challenge the position. Oh, it's going to be some problems in that marriage. Yeah,
it's so true. It's such a hard thing because, unfortunately within our community, there hasn't been a lot of examples. And you grow up either in a single parent home or, you haven't really had people around you to see that, oh yeah, they're married. Okay, I can use them as an example. You haven't really had that. So one, we don't know what a marriage looks like other than what we see on TV, which is why, like you said, a lot of people have that whole fairy tale syndrome. But then it's the whole thing now, okay, submission. That word does seem it does seem to be a byword, and I guess it does work hand in hand. Okay, now the man has to in a sense prove himself that he is a man, he can handle this. And there's something I believe you said, I'm sure you said this in the podcast, is about trust. You did say it. It's about trust. And when I say that, I don't mean in the sense of trust my man to go out, and he won't cheat on me. I mean trust in the sense that trust that your man has it. So if he makes a decision, for your household, you have to trust that he has it, that he can take control of whatever situation. And I think because we have this high independency, as Black women, we find it hard to let go and just allow our husbands to let them take control. I think we do struggle with that a lot of the time. So I don't know. I mean, how do we now how do we transition out of that systematically, what we've been, how do we now get ourselves out of that mindset?
Yes. So here's the thing. I think the first thing a lot of us have to recognize is that it's a problem. Like some women don't even realize it's a problem. They don't even realize that they're dominating their husband or trying to dominate him or trying to be in control of everything. So you got to first recognize, like, okay, I have a problem, or this is the area where I struggle. And then I honestly think you have to solicit help, because what happens is if you have been raised to do everything by yourself, and I just say, well, just let it go, let him help. You're like, no, what do you mean let him help? I have an F on my chest. I've been taught to do this by myself. So now the goal, like you said, is trusting your husband, but the trust comes into letting go. Like if you can't allow him to lead in the smallest things, like you can start with something very small, whether it's dressing your children for school. That might be big for some people. I don't know. But I know for me, just that control issue, just wanting to always be in control. I used to, flip out if my husband had my daughter in polka dot socks and red shoes or something, but what's the issue? Like, what's the real issue? So that I had
Yeah.
to look within myself. And that's pretty much a lot of the work that I do, Nabaya.
Yeah.
It's me teaching women to really look within. Really figure out who you are, why are you showing up the way you are. And so that's why, one, you have to be able to admit, I do have a problem when it comes to submission.
Yes.
Or I do have a problem when it comes to not being able to let the reins go and wanting to be in control. And then let's break that down. When I break that down and keep asking questions, it always comes down to fear.
Right, right.
So a lot of us operate in fear in our relationships and not in faith. A lot of us operate in fear because if I don't do this, like we really feel that we can hold the world on our back. If I don't do this, then this is not going to happen. Or if I don't, step in, that this is not going to get done. Like we really feel. So because, again, it's systematically, right, has been ingrained in our brains that this is how it's supposed to do. We have to do a whole lot of unlearning.
Oh, my gosh. Yes. We do.
Because if it's not serving you, if you're tired, if you're exhausted, if you know, like, you guys keep fighting about the same things, it's not serving you. It's not working. So now let's identify that and unlearn and relearn a new way of being in a relationship. Another way of being this quote-unquote independent woman. I just posted this, Nabaya, on my Instagram.
Yes.
And I talked about how I stripped the S off my chest.
Oh, yes, I saw that, yes.
To save my sanity.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
I had to do that because I was trying to be Mrs. Independent. I can do it by myself. I don't need a man. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Well, why would I get married if I need a man?
Exactly.
Like, what's the whole point?
Exactly. Oh, my.
It's partnership. You're supposed to do this thing called life together.
Right.
Like, you're supposed to be able to now take some of that weight off.
Absolutely. It's true. It is a lot of unlearning and relearning for us, especially within our community. And we have to learn to trust the process of our husbands. Now, it's not to say that they're going to get it right every single time, but there's something so important that you had said before in that podcast that even if he doesn't get it right, it's fine.
Yes.
Brush his shoulders off, and get back on the horse. That's it.
Yes.
And it's okay if they get it wrong, as you said. And I think also is then down to, if they do get something wrong, don't be honest. Oh, see, I told you, that's why you should blah, 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 blah. And that's such an easy thing to do. We have to learn to taper our tongues, as you said. 'Cause I know you said that was something in the beginning that you struggled with in the beginning of your relationship with your husband.
Yes.
And it's funny because I remember I was speaking with a brother who said that sometimes when he gets into arguments with his wife, she sometimes will say things on purpose that she knows is going to cut deep, it's going to cut like he's been stabbed. And he was asking, like, why do women do that? And I don't know if it's because, physically men are stronger than us, but when it comes to our tongues, we know that we can cut. Do you understand?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that might be one of the reasons, but also we have to be mindful what comes out of our mouths, because we don't really realize how much damage our tongue can do.
Yeah. So true. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, Nabaya.
Oh, yes.
We literally can create and destroy with our tongue.
Oh, my goodness.
And I think a lot of times that's fueled from Mrs. Independent too. Mrs. Independent gets very confident over the years of who she is and what she can do. And so when it comes to speaking to our men, we can tear them down with our words.
Yep.
And do it on purpose. And know that we literally will speak death to our husbands and then expect them to love us.
Oh, yes.
Like, how crazy is that, right? We would
so
literally
true.
just give them a piece of our mind, hit them below the belt, call them everything that they're not or that we say they are, and then be like, well, love on me. He's not spending any time with me. He's not, why are you pushing him away?
Yeah.
Like, he's human.
Yeah.
Like, he's not. We always say the men look at us as trophies. He's not just a trophy. Like that, the wedding day. Go back to the wedding day, Nabaya, where it's all about us.
Yep.
He's just basically playing a role on that day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need you to stand here at the altar, and I'm gonna need you to stand over here when they take pictures, and I'm gonna need you. He has
It's
no
true.
say.
It's so true.
It's all
so
about
true.
you. This is your marriage. This is your wedding. So that whole mindset has to change, especially when it comes to how we talk to each other. Nabaya, you have no idea how many women I speak to, how many women I coach, who every issue boils down to communication.
Oh,
the lack of
my.
effective communication.
That, and you
They
know
don't have to
what?
talk to each other.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that was going to be another question.
Yeah.
Some people do find it hard to communicate. And you have said that communication, especially in a marriage, is everything. So to someone who's not really used to communicating, how does someone who kind of lives in their head and doesn't really communicate, how do they overcome this?
And when you say live in their head, does that mean the silent treatment?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead. Let's go ahead and call it what it is.
Yeah.
That silent treatment. So, and that's another power move. That's another control move, actually. Because, if I shut down, I'm communicating to you through my actions, through my body language, that I don't want to talk, and I'm not going to talk until I feel like it. And so most of the time, men, and this is, again, we're very general here.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's men, sometimes it's women. But of course, I'm speaking to the women who can relate to this. Sometimes the men just want to talk through it, get over it, and move on.
Right.
But we want to be in control of the situation. So we use our silent treatment. We shut down. We do all of those things. And then that kind of leaves them out there trying to figure out, well, what's wrong? Like now we want him to be a mind reader. Now we want him to figure it out. Now we want him to, make it all better. But we're not opening our mouths and letting him know what's wrong in the first place.
Oh, my.
One of the major things that we do, and this is one thing I would do too, is when they ask you that famous question, come on, Tobias, what's wrong? That famous question,
Nothing's
wrong.
wrong.
You know what the woman says?
Nothing's wrong.
She says nothing. But your body language, your attitude, you rolling your eyes, you slamming doors, tells me that something is wrong with you.
Why do we do this? Like, why?
So,
why do we do this?
Just got a little cray-cray in it, just a little cray-cray. But, it has a lot to do with, I think it goes back to us wanting to protect ourselves. Like you said, we shut down because we're trying to, one, defend ourselves.
Yeah.
There's an idea that our men are against us. There's this idea that, we're not on the same team. He's against me. And not looking at it as, let's fight the problem.
Right.
See, we end up fighting each other. So for that woman who has, to your original question, just having a problem with staying in her head, I think the first thing you have to do, one, is understand, where does this communication style come from?
Right.
See, a lot of us haven't done the work. See, there that word work again. We haven't done the work to figure out, why are we the way we are?
Yeah.
Because when it came to the way LB was talking to Derek, I had to go back to the source of, where did this come from?
Right.
And a lot of it came from my upbringing. I saw my parents argue, cuss all the time.
Yeah.
Saw, you know what I'm saying? I saw how my father talked to my mother. And then when my mother started standing up for herself, I saw how she talked to my father. So when it was only natural for when I felt that I was in a threat with my husband, that I would give him, a piece of my mind.
Right.
So that it starts there. Like, it's never surfaced. Pretty much the people who are showing up in marriages, those are the people who have become who they are by years and years of, their childhood traumas, unhealed, past hurts, all of those things. And it now has to be unpacked in this marriage, because you're realizing that you got your ish and he got his ish.
Oh, my. Marriage, I mean, I know we use the word work, but it is work. But I think you can, somehow, and it's right, we have to learn ourselves first. I think that's so highly important before running into marriage. Learn yourselves first and know what you can. It's like someone said to me, some that will do, the whole courting stage where before they get married, they meet somebody, okay, let's court. No sex involved, no nothing. Let's just learn each other, and let's see how it goes. And someone said to me, this is your time where you now learn the person and you have to now know within your mind, okay, can I deal with this habit? Or can I deal with how they do this or do that or whatever the case may be? You have to now, because you have to learn that, okay, I have to live with this now forever and ever. Amen. So can I handle this? And I think it's so important. One, going back to the fact that you and your husband done the premarital class, but also it's so important that people take the time to learn each other first before going down that road, because it's serious. Marriage isn't just your wedding day. Marriage is for life, and then through it you have children if you're blessed and all of that, and that in itself plays a big part as well.
Those
having
are the
children.
Different chapters.
Yeah.
Those are the different chapters. And marriage is let's go ahead. It's a marathon. Like marriage is a journey. It's not a destination.
Mm-hmm.
Like once you get married, I'm gonna be honest with you, like you said, that's where the real work starts.
Yeah.
And I think we just have to really extend grace on this process of becoming. Marriage is about becoming. So when we think about that, that you are becoming the best version of yourself. He is becoming the best version of himself. That's a process.
Yeah.
We're not going to all get it right away. And a lot of us are getting married either too quickly or they're not really doing the I don't want to call it investigative work because that sounds like too much. But when you're dating and when you're courting, you're not asking the right questions.
Oh gosh,
it's like, how does he make me feel? Like, oh my God, I'm so in love.
Yeah.
When I see him, he's just so handsome. He's tall, dark, and what? Okay, that's cool. But what else he got?
Right. It's so true. What else does he have?
Relationships happen in seasons. Marriage happens in seasons.
It's so true. It's so true. There was another question that came through. Someone said, what advice would she give to a wife who feels like she's not being heard? Like her husband isn't acknowledging how she feels or her emotions? So that's a question that's come through.
This one comes up a lot, Nabaya. This one comes up a lot. There is nothing worse than being in a relationship with someone and you feel unheard or unseen.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you think about that, the questions are so common, but there's so many different layers or approaches to them.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So in this case here, one, I would ask her, why do you feel unheard?
Right.
Because it's like I think we just assume that we all communicate the same.
Yeah.
We assume that because you say one thing, he's hearing that, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So one, why do you feel that you're being unheard? That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And then secondly, when things are good between you and him, this is an opportunity for you to bring up, hey, I just wanted to tell you about this is how I was feeling, or hey, you have a moment, that I can share something with you. Not we need to talk.
Yes.
Like get those 4 words out your mind. Like no, don't say that. Because men already know something wrong if you say, we need to talk. So, can I share something with you? Or can I share something that's on my heart? Or, hey, do you have a minute? Or whatever. Like, literally let him know, hey, I just wanted to, let you know this is how I'm feeling. Or do a check-in. There has to be some type of relationship protocol that's established in your marriage. So, my husband and I, for example, have pillow talk.
Right.
And this is where on Sunday mornings and it's honestly changed to Saturday. I don't know how that happened, like kind of organically, but it used to be on Sundays, but now it's Saturday morning. And we just lie in bed and we just talk about us. We talk about our relationship. We talk about life. Because my husband is a full-time entrepreneur, so we don't always get a lot of time to see each other like we would want to.
Yes.
So that's an opportunity for us to check in. And so what she could do is check in. Maybe that's something that you and him can do. Start checking in with each other. Figure out what's going on with him. Like, how do you think things are going? Like, don't be afraid to ask these questions. This is your life.
Yeah. This is
your marriage. So that's something, even though I love how you hone in on us having premarital education, but that was just the beginning.
Yeah.
Like we have to continue to maintain and to learn because as I'm growing and evolving, things are changing.
Yeah.
So we actually had to do marital counseling last year because we needed to work through, one, I lost my mother to COVID.
Oh,
so we were dealing with grief.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you. We were dealing with grief. We were dealing with so many different, so we had to work through those things.
Yeah.
So I just want people to understand that don't look at premarital education as the first and all, and that's it. No, that's the beginning. Like you want to maintain a healthy relationship, just like therapy. You need to have someone in your corner that's going to help you both grow as husband and wife. But for that
Absolutely.
woman who's feeling unheard, again, create a safe space where y'all can have that conversation when things are good. Like,
Yes.
don't bring up "I don't feel heard" when things aren't going good. Like, when y'all are having an argument or disagreement, that ain't the time to say, this is how I feel. You
So
don't be listening to
true.
me because y'all already not listening to each other.
So true. I'm taking note of that. Yes.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Okay. So you said something on your status the other day. You wrote, "You have to learn to bounce back after a blow up." Yes. And oh my goodness. Yes. That's a big one right there.
It's huge. It's huge because it's crazy how you can have a disagreement and it goes from a disagreement to now y'all not talking to each other. Now it's a couple days. Now it's a week. You don't even remember why y'all stopped talking to each other.
Exactly.
The bounce back. The bounce back is the recovery period. Like I would let something so small like ruin our day. Like if we were about to go out and we just had a disagreement or got into it, I would shut down for the rest of the day.
Wow.
You know why? Because I wanted to be in control.
Right.
Because I wanted to, if he, made me upset or ticked me off,
Yes.
I wanted him to feel it.
Yep.
And a lot of that was immaturity. Marriage will mature you or it will expose the immaturity in you.
Yeah.
And so those were some immature, things that I would do to control the situation or, to be in control.
Yeah.
But when it comes to bouncing back, it's like, we can disagree. We can resolve this issue quickly. Some issues will take longer, not all of them.
Yeah, of course.
Some of them you can, quickly and then bounce back. Let's get back on good terms. Let's not, disagree and then the energy shifts. And now we don't like each other and we just because we didn't agree.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. It's such a big thing because, some people can hold grudges for a very long time.
This is Teddy. Where she at?
Oh my goodness. And that's the thing. And stubbornness. People have big arguments and it's like, well, I'm not saying sorry first. And that will continue forever till kingdom come. And it's just like, it's crazy. And I think
ego.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Ego and pride.
Yeah.
That's gonna, y'all. We can't. We really have to. People say swallow your ego. Like you really gotta like put them away in a safe box and don't bring that ego out unless you need to be confident or something because it will ruin your relationship. It will really add strain to your relationship for no reason because you're too prideful that you can't utter the word. You know what? That was my fault. I apologize.
Yeah.
I apologize so quickly now because I've been practicing apologizing. It was never my fault. It was always him.
Yep.
Until I started owning my ish and my ish are my issues, y'all.
And that's such a big thing because some people find it hard to, and I always say this at the beginning of my show, you have to self-examine. It's so important that we self-examine and just be real with ourselves. And I think a lot of us struggle with that because in a sense, you're now admitting your mistakes. And I think it's a hard pill to swallow. I think it is a very it is a very, very hard pill to swallow. But, at the end of the day, if you want to have a successful marriage, you have to just be real with yourself, and it's true. The whole ego that has to die. Your pride has to die, and you just have to be real and be like, you know what, babe, I'm sorry. That's it.
Yes, and it's such a game changer.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
You should be accountable for how you've been showing up.
Absolutely.
Like, people don't realize that pointing the finger, blaming, that's weakness. That's giving the other person power. But when you can sit in your stuff and say, you know what, I was wrong.
Yes.
I didn't mean it that way.
Yes.
I do apologize for talking to you like that. This is what I meant.
Yep.
And you hear my heart. That's the power.
Yep.
I want to teach women to really step into their power. You can still show up as a strong, successful, powerful woman in your marriage, and you can still submit. You can still yield to leadership. You can still let him have his opinion. All of those things make a relationship work. So it's just understanding, how you need to show up in order for that to work.
Yes. Something I also wanted to ask as well, because growing up, some of us hear the whole thing of, okay, in a relationship, marriage, whatever, always have your own money. don't don't share an account. Just he has his money, you have your money. If you're bringing your money together, it's because you got a bill to pay or whatever the case may be. What is your stance with that when it comes to finances? Because I know finances is such a big thing.
It is
as an overall thing. Yeah,
it is. No, you're right. And so what's so funny? That's part of the training of Mrs. Independent. Like, you have to have your own money. You have to have, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have your own money. But here's the thing. This is how I approach finances.
Right.
You have to, understand, what are y'all money goals? Like, what are your financial goals? And what is that going to look like for your union?
Right.
So for us in particular, we have a joint account, which is our house account, so to speak. Because even though I am the wife coach, that is my business. My marriage is my number one business.
That's right. So come on, say it again. Say it again. Yes, say it again.
My marriage is my number one business.
Thank you.
So I have to make sure that Derek and I are good before I go out here in the world and do anything else. Because you know what? I can make all the money in the world. I can travel the world. I can speak across the world, whatever. But if I'm not happy emotionally, spiritually, socially, if I don't have that to share with someone, to me, it doesn't mean enough. People have so much money and they're miserable.
Right.
Like, really, so to be able to make sure that my home front is intact, I got to make sure that I am not a public success and a private failure. I got to make sure my house is taken care of.
Yes.
So when it comes to finances, we have a joint account, which is our house account.
Yes.
And then we also have our individual savings.
Right.
We also have our individual accounts. We have our, business accounts. So it's about us understanding our relationship with money. Because I thought I was better with money, and I wasn't. My husband was actually better with money.
Wow.
But you couldn't tell me that because I was Mrs. Independent. You can't tell me I don't know how to handle money. But that was something I had to get real with. And this is one of the conversations that we had to have in that safe space.
Yeah.
We had to talk about, okay, well, growing up, I used to rob Peter to pay Paul.
That's right.
Like, I saw my mama do it. I saw my daddy do it. And guess who else did it? Their daughter, So just getting real with that. Like, 'cause I sure did bring that same money mismanagement attitude into my marriage.
Yes.
So I think that's important first. Like, it's beyond just having, okay, you want a joint account, you want a savings account, checking account. Let's talk about our relationship with money. Let's talk about who's the spender, who's the saver. Let's talk about, how much, what does our lifestyle look like?
Right.
Like, what do we want to live and really work towards? So now we got to set money goals and make sure that we're doing those things that we need to do in order to reach that.
Absolutely. And again, I guess it's definitely a conversation that should be had from the beginning anyway.
Yes, because money is, everybody say money ain't everything. Yes, it is. Stop saying that. Money, you need money.
Yeah.
Okay? Money is a tool.
Right.
And a lot of us don't know how to use the tool properly.
Right.
We're not raised in stocks and savings and, taxes. We're not raised with that mindset. Many of us are not raised that way. So when you get married, now you're merging. It's a business merger. You're bringing your business assets. He's bringing his business assets. Now let's talk about this money. How are we going to fund? Come on, y'all. How are we going to fund this marriage?
Yeah, it's so
how are we
true.
Going to fund our business? And if you're a spender and you don't understand how to, balance or budget or whatever, that's an issue that y'all have to talk about. And these are conversations that people miss early on in the courting stage.
Yes, it's so true. And it's so, because like you said before, it's about asking the right questions.
Yes.
If we're not asking the right questions, then we can't really complain, once we get into that marriage and we start seeing certain things maybe falling apart or what have you, or you get shocked by something because we didn't ask that question to begin with. So so important that we ask the right questions. So you guys listening, if you are at that courting stage, you're looking to be married, whatever the case may be, just make sure you ask the right questions in the beginning, so then you're not shocked. You're not in a state of shock once you get married.
Because you're going to be shocked.
Oh gosh, yes. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. And it's funny because, for example, like myself and my husband, we went through a courting stage before we decided to get married. And I remember someone saying to me, look, you don't get to know your partner until you actually live with them. When you live with them, that's when you really now know who they are.
Yes. I mean, you know what, Nabaya, I would often say, do not become a roommate with your friend like in college.
Yeah.
Because when you move in with somebody, you get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And ugly, yes.
And trust me, look, that's just a roommate. So imagine, moving under one roof with your husband, who I just said I'm gonna do life with.
Yes.
And y'all are working through the good, the bad, and the ugly together.
Yes.
It's a total different mindset shift when y'all live under the same roof, because this is really you have two people becoming under one roof.
Yes.
And a lot of people fight and argue because they're trying to really push their motive in a way. Like, this is how it's going to be.
Yes.
Or they're struggling with compromise or understanding that now they're sharing their life with someone. So there's a lot of, back and forth. There's a lot of growth. A lot of, again, we talked about unlearning and relearning. So that's just the process of marriage. That's the work that we talk about. That's the work that people don't want to do. But that's the only way to get to the place of peace, the place of where y'all are vibing. There's nothing better than, my husband coming home and him looking at me and smiling like, hey, baby, what's up?
Oh.
But that didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
We had to work for that.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
now it's like, once you get it, you don't stop. You want to maintain that.
Yes, it's true. Because you want that constant feeling that, as you and your husband have now, because you worked for it. So you don't want to ever let that, I guess that's the beauty, that you guys were together for so long, that you have seen the good, the bad, the ugly. You saw how it was from the beginning. You're now in a good place where you're like, you know what, this is where I want us to be continually. So we have to work towards this continuously. Absolutely. Oh my, I feel like I could speak to you like for hours and hours. And and obviously time restraint, but before I leave you, I wanted you to, I guess, maybe give a summary or just kind of just give some words of exhortation, just to encourage and, just those that are listening, what they should do, what they should look to do. How can we move forward?
Absolutely. Well, first, just thank you for this conversation. This is my first being in London.
Yes.
I'm there now. But no, this is really good. And I think one thing we have to realize again is, just kind of assess your marriage, assess your relationship.
Right.
Ask yourself 3 important questions. 1, where am I?
Yes.
How did we get here, and where do I want to be?
Yes.
So those are 3 things you can do right now in your relationship to assess where you are. And if where you are is not where you want to be, what are the next steps for me to get there?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's about how you're showing up. I'm not saying he doesn't have a responsibility. Oh, absolutely, he does. But the only person in your relationship you can change, you can really control, is you. So really ask yourself those 3 questions. How did we get here? Because now your contributions at the end of the day have gotten you where you are.
Yes.
How did I contribute to this state my marriage is in? How did I contribute to the season that we're in? It's about you owning your ish, because that's you giving yourself power to now make change.
That's right.
Okay? So that's what it's all about. You don't like where you are. You don't like the things that are going on, or you want to improve them. It has to change, but that change is always going to start with you.
Right. Absolutely. It's work, guys.
At the end of the day.
Yes, at the end of the day, it is works. Okay? It is works. And that is the reality of marriage. It is, like you said in the beginning, big sis, at the end of the day, you work hard for your boss, your manager, you know, there's things that need to be done, you work hard for. The things that you want to achieve, you're going to work hard for. So there's no difference to your marriage, right?
Yes.
We have to put the same effort, or more, rather, more of an effort when it comes to your marriage. Okay, marriage is for life. Your manager who you're working for, a business, is not for life. Okay, good morning. We can hear you. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, and Auntie is on the phone. Okay, she's giving us wisdom. We need silence here. Okay, but yes, you know, we have to work hard and not be afraid to work hard towards it. You want a happy, or you know, the whole thing, happy life, happy wife, or whatever they say, happy wife, happy life. But it goes both ways, you know, it does go both ways. So to my brothers and sisters that are listening today, you know, let's work towards our marriage. We have to. Okay, and we want to be a perfect example, or of much of a good example for our children as well, so that they can see what a marriage is supposed to look like. So that now when it comes to their time, they're like, yep, mommy and daddy done it this way, you know, let me kind of use that as an example, although my own marriage is my own marriage, but at least I've got a blueprint of what it's supposed to look like.
Yes.
You know?
Or what it can look like.
Or what it can, exactly, what it can look like.
What it can look like, absolutely. You just need an example, you know, we have to be seen. Just like when we look at TV and we're like, we need representation. We need to be seen in order to know that it can happen.
Yes.
That's what it's all about.
Yes.
It's just being an example. You don't have to be the example, just be an example that it can happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Big sis, as I'm going to start calling you now. I thank you so much for this. I'm truly grateful for you. Please continue to do what you're doing, because this is needed. I don't think people really understand the levels to how much help marriages need. And I'm just grateful. Someone just asked, Oscar, would you be willing to do a workshop here in London physically, to fly here?
Absolutely. Hello. Nabaya, get me to London. Let's make it happen, Nabaya, first and foremost.
Don't worry, I'm about to speak to management.
Yes.
I'm about to speak to management at truthmusicradio.com, and we have to make this happen. Somehow, we have to make you come here to London, because we need it.
I would love it.
We need it.
I would love it.
You know, we definitely need it. But big sis, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much for, I mean, it's almost 3:00 there, right?
No, it's almost 4.
Oh my gosh, it's almost 4:00.
Okay, oh, you know what? My husband will be up soon, and he and I will be going to the gym. That's one way that we spend time together.
Yes.
So it's all good. I'm ready. I told you I'll be ready for you.
I love your energy. Oh man, all praises. Thank you so much. Yes.
I appreciate you, lady.
Yes, and I appreciate you, big sis. Thank you so much. You know, guys, please Instagram the wife coach, thewifecoach.com. Please just check her out. She is absolutely amazing.